do that again. Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship with myself, Emmy Hikins, and he calls me bruv.
And me, Trevor Gear, and I actually call him Cuz,
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it calls me cuz.
just to be correct about it. How are you, all
Oh,
right?
yeah. I'm good. I'm good. I am
Wearing a
good.
hoodie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we just wanna. I just wanted to say, we're wishing our lovely Rose, um,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
a speedy recovery. We just want to say that on camera as well.
absolutely.
That's what she gets
Yeah,
here. She's had an
yeah,
operation, and she's in our thoughts, isn't she?
very much so. Yeah.
For those, yeah. Right. So I believe you have this interesting, interesting topic you'd like us to explore today.
Well, we always hope they're interesting, don't we? They may not be interesting to everybody, but we do try and come up with some ideas. And really, after last week's discussion, debate, or whatever, we
Right.
sort of came up with the idea of whether or not we as humans have a soul. Now, that's
Right.
quite an important question, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I don't, right at the outset, we're not really going to come up with a definitive answer to that question, but it's interesting just to sort of look at it, think around it a little bit, and how we might go about thinking about it. What we have to say is, are we simply an enormously complex biological network that mechanically produces everything about us, our personality, our character? We could think of lots of things, our hopes, aspirations, dreams, passions, humor, memory, desires, the lot. Everything about us would come out of this basically biologically physical being that we are. And it is a very deep question, isn't it? Because
It
if we
is.
actually look at our, photographs or whatever of our organs, which are there obviously online, and I think you can see a brain or two in various museums. In fact, I think Einstein's brain he donated it to a museum initially for research. So that's quite an interesting one to look at. But if we really think that that 3 pounds sort of lump of meat, quite lightweight meat, has the ability to think, to do all the things we do. So if we're going to really answer the question to ourselves, our own satisfaction, do we have a soul? Perhaps we have to think about ourselves in that way. Are we just simply a physical thing? And I suppose we'd have to try to understand that our conscious self, which is all we've got really. I mean, we go to sleep and we're unconscious. We may have some odd dreams, which most of us do, but our conscious self is all we've got. But our conscious self actually occupies a very small room in the mansion of the brain. We could put it that way, because the brain is doing trillions of things really at every moment, and we are just given consciousness. And we have to also try to understand that what we're given is we have little or no control over of the reality that the brain constructs for each of us. So somehow we know the things we like, the things we want, the desires, the hopes, etc., which is all kind of engineered by the brain. So trying to understand these things is tough, but that's what we need to think about if we are seriously going to say that, we have a soul or we don't have a soul. To try to understand the trillions of new have a soul, to try to understand the trillions of neurons that are zapping about in our heads at any given moment, trillions of them. And I suppose you could say something like sextillions of biochemicals, of proteins voyaging around the brain, all interacting together. As we've said before, previous podcasts, we just move our arms sort of like that. And we don't think about the huge, complex mechanism that's going on beneath the surface, a bit like, I don't know, a bit like a cruise ship, a massive ship, and it's chugging along over the sea, and you're underneath, the turbines are going 15 to the dozen. Great complexity of engineering. So we try to understand these things. And before I say to you, or ask you whether you think we have a soul, Cuz, I'd be interested in your view on that. Let's just say an example. Now, I've heard it on good authority that you like pillow talk. But
Okay.
I haven't actually heard that on good authority. I just made that up to create a sort of a scenario. But let's say you do like pillow talk. You're laying there
Right.
with your loved one on the
Right.
pillow, and she's not whispering to you, but in lovely, lovely dulcet tones, saying some poetry to you, some love poetry, and you're lapping this up. It's wonderful. She's saying wonderful things to you, and life has never been so good. So you decide, thinking, well, actually, I'd like to know what the mechanics behind what she's saying to me and how she's talking are. So you grab from the bedside, you happen to have there a medical scope, like an endoscope thing. You keep it on your bedside cabinet, don't you, with a little camera at the top. And while she's talking with this poetry, you put it down her throat. Right? You put it down her throat, and then you watch as she's talking, with a lovely tone of voice, and you see her vocal cords, and they're slimy, they're shiny, and you watch as they contract in and out in a spasm, and somehow this is generating this incredibly beautiful voice, incredible beautiful words of poetry. Now you may be sort of really entranced watching this, but I guess after a fairly short while you're going to feel a bit sick, you're going to feel a bit nauseous, because it's not altogether lovely and romantic watching these vocal cords doing their business. And so, although that's a ridiculous example, the fact is, were you able to do that, that's
Yeah.
what we would see, that the actual mechanics of the vocal cords doing what they do. But all we know is we hear someone talk, or we talk ourselves, and that's the end product. But it doesn't help us, even if we know how it may work, it doesn't help us to decide whether it's all this mechanism, this physical, biological mechanism that produces everything about us, our personalities, everything, as we said before. We don't really know that. So